everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Did You Know? Today I am joined by Laura Furiosi and Lyn Galvin. Now, Lyn and I have known each other for many, many years. So Lyn is the podcast co-host and mum of the Duo Divorce Cast podcast team and family law specialist of over 35 years. She's a qualified arbitrator, mediator, and she is a previously practicing barrister and holds a Bachelor of Education degree as well. Laura is Lyn's daughter and has a Bachelor of Education and runs a business coaching service called Bossy Mummy. And if you're on Instagram, you can really check that out. She knows about the same as you do about divorce, but she has lived it and she knows how to ask her mum questions. If you ever have the opportunity, download the podcast and take a listen, because they together will share all the ins and outs, put the legal jargon aside and put into plain speak and take the stress out of the divorce journey for you. Welcome, welcome, welcome to you both. And thank you so much for joining me. As I said before, Lyn and I have known each other for many, many years. She has such a wealth of knowledge. So thank you.
Thank you, Laurie. That's very kind of you. We do go back a long way, don't we?
We do. I was talking to Laura before we started recording, Lyn, and saying that I knew you when I was a real baby family lawyer.
I always knew you'd be very good though, Laurie. I always knew.
It was one of those things that, you know, coming into the court for the first time and just being overwhelmed by it all. But we got there in the end.
We did, dear.
I want to talk to you today because I've been listening to your Divorce Course podcast. And it is fantastic. And I think what it is aiming to give people who are going through the process that help and that support without actually having to feel like you don't know what you're doing and you don't know what you're talking about and asking those silly questions to your lawyers.
Yeah.
It's
exactly what we try to do.
It's so helpful, but it is also, I think, for people who are going through that process, it's like a hug, a warm blanket, you know, a care factor when they're feeling all alone. So tell me about your course, because I know that you've got a course that goes with it, and I want to talk about that first so that we can then take it back to the podcast.
Well, I'm going to have a little chat, Ma. But like you said, I'm obviously not a lawyer, but I realised when I was ringing Mum every 5 seconds going, what does this mean? What does this mean? Even though I had my own lawyer, they would say things to me in lawyer speak, you know, and I think they just assumed, I think because you say it so often, that everyone kind of knows what that means. And I kind of did want someone to hold my hand and say, well, this is what happens in mediation, and this is where you'll sit, and, you know, just explaining the real detailed bits so I could just not worry about the unknown. And after I started going through the process myself, I just was like, what do people do if they don't have a mum? like it's not fair, because I'd have friends ringing asking me questions and I'd give them Mum's number and Mum would always be lovely and help. And then I was like, then I went to Mum's house one day and saw how many people she was talking to on the phone who were aunties, cousins, friends of friends, second sisters, cousins, auntie. And I said, Mum, we just need to get your brain into something so that you can just send it to people. And then you don't, because I realized she was saying the same thing over and over again. So I said, let's do this. And our plan was to start the podcast, and then get Mum's brain downloaded onto a computer, basically, through the lessons, so that she didn't have to say the same thing a million times. I could free Mum up. She wants to retire, and also at the same time help people. I said to Mum, you can help more people if we put it online. So it's kind of just spreading Mum's kindness and knowledge to more people.
But it's one of those things, I think there's so many people out there who have put together a course to help people surrounding divorce, right? What I really like about what you have got to offer, though, is that you have literally done that. And Lyn, I know you talk about subpoenaing. I know you talk about doing searches for properties and discovery processes. You talk about how to actually apply for the divorce. So it's not just that hand holding, you know, I'm here to emotionally support you, but here are the practical steps that you need along the way.
Yeah. You know, I think that people are a lot smarter than their lawyers give them credit for. And, you know, particularly young people, they're very comfortable with the computers and so forth. And I thought that, well, people can learn. They can, if I can do it, you can do it, you know, with a little bit of help. But we find a lot of people are using the course and using lawyers for some bits and then doing their own for the other bits. So I'm hoping it's a kind of legacy, Laurie, that I hope will help people going forward. Yeah.
Yep. Because it is an expensive process, isn't it?
And if you're ringing your lawyer for moral support or to ask for an explanation of the law, it's getting more and more expensive. That's, you know, that's not a good use of your resources.
No.
So, yeah.
I also look at it like you're playing a computer game and you start at level 1 and you're going along and then you do your initial negotiations and then you get to level 2 and you do your mediations and you keep going through, but you're not aware of what the next level is or what happens next. And I realized going through my divorce, if I'd known some of the stuff that we teach in our course in advance, it would have saved me more time. I would have been able to prepare. It probably would have saved court trials, like it would have saved money, you know, and in hindsight, if I was going through this computer game, going through level 1, level 2, I would have been preparing as I went through each level, as opposed to just sitting there waiting for the lawyer to tell me what's next, and claim some of that power and do some of the work yourself and just, you know, not be stuck in this unknown abyss of roller coaster, what's next kind of feeling. So I think it's a bit of both, and Mum, as she talks you through it and explains each step and what to expect, and I think a lot of people doing our course will save money, and a lot of people they've done their own things, and it just also saves your sanity, I think. Because lawyers, I mean, they're not your psychologists, they're not there for that, but Mum and I in the podcast and on the course, we do cover kind of both sides. We're it's like we know what you're going through. That kind of feel.
It's very intertwined though, isn't it? Like it's the practical, legal, this is the process to follow. But at the same time, you're going through an emotional process of the relationship ending, of trying to establish what life is like after all of that. And if you've got kids, how are they coping, and trying to be the best parent and hold yourself together all at the same time. So to treat them as individual stages, I think, is selling the process short, selling what you're going through short, and going, we can't treat them separately. We've got to treat them as a whole. And if we can do that, then you can save yourself time and emotional energy. And by doing that, you're then saving yourself money financially through lawyers' fees.
Yeah, it's totally true.
Yeah.
So
I love your
Laurie.
analogy about the computer game, and this is me being old school, but immediately when you said that, I was thinking snakes and ladders. It's like, you know, you're going along and next thing something happens and you're back down here and you have to start the process all over again.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I don't do computer games, but board games.
That's good.
So tell me, in terms of your podcast, what I love about your podcast is the Q&As. People writing in and saying, this is the question that I have. So Lyn, what's your favorite Q&A that you've been asked so far?
Laura knows the one, I think. Someone wrote in and said, I've been told I can't get pregnant until my property settlement is final. You know, is this a good idea or not? And I just wrote and said, live your life. Live your life. You can't put everything on hold while you go through these things. And you know, there's legal authority for that we're not supposed to go into a state of suspended animation. But yes, I like to think somewhere around along the line, someone's gone ahead and had the baby they wanted. Do you know, I think people, Laurie, like to know that what they're going through is other people have gone through it, are going through it, because you'd be surprised the people who look really together and who don't seem to have the perfect life, if you know what I mean, are probably going through hell in the background, and no one talks about it. You know, you only talk about your divorce usually to your very closest friends, and sometimes they start to eye roll.
Yeah.
The one thing about Laura and me is we can talk about it endlessly. If you want to hear someone talk about what you're going through, well, I think, what is it, Laura, 53 podcasts that go through it.
Yeah, 55 episodes. But it's right. We have a lot of people who write in who've done the course and who listen to our podcast, and they say, I thought I was the only person going through this. And so Mum and I'll do ones like the Narcissist Playbook, 10 Things to Expect, or what happens with an avoidant divorce. And Mum literally sees the patterns as she's been doing it for so long. And we talk about what to expect, what might happen. And they go, oh my gosh, other people are experiencing this. This isn't just me, you know, and it instantly makes you think that they think that, okay, I'm not crazy, or, you know, other people have gotten through it, I can get through it. So as Mum said, the family court's seen everything and it's prepared for anything. But sometimes it's really hard. Like you said, Mum, one of your quotes is, your ex isn't special. What did you used to say? Your ex isn't special. But
he's just following people. It's usually the men that we're talking to, the women mostly. And it's helpful to realize that anything they try to do or say has been dealt with before by the court, and so they show you what they're going to do. You have the response, the appropriate response, and that's what we try to show in the course, Laura, isn't it? To give them, if this happens, this is the sort of letter to write, or tweak it this way. And we do, Laurie, urge them. If you've listened to some of the podcasts, we urge them to do the mediation, and if that doesn't work, think about doing another one, and if that doesn't work, you know, so we have solving the unsolvable and convincing the unconvincible.
Yep. And we always
Sorry, Laura, you go.
We do it through the lens of the divorce course personality prism. So I always ask Mum the questions for each topic. Okay, if the person has a person that they're divorcing who is avoidant, someone who doesn't want to deal with anything, how do you go about it? And then we have the amicable relationship of divorce. You know, is there a different strategy for that topic? For the manipulative and controlling, what's the strategy they should use? And then the high conflict, where it's just fight, what's the strategy? So we always try and use the 4 divorce course personalities to talk everyone through. So it's not a cookie cutter approach for everyone. So we tried to help everybody with those different ways.
And that's human life. They're human beings, isn't it, at the end of the day? We aren't the same. And it is about understanding how people are showing up in those relationships to be able to achieve the outcome that you need. And the outcome that
Laurie,
your children deserve.
And Laurie, when you were in practice, I'm sure the same as me, you spend a bit of time finding out what you're dealing with on the other side and tailor your response accordingly, you know. It's the best way to do it for your client.
It brings about the resolution.
Yeah, and our main aim for the divorce course, the online course, is to keep you out of court. So we try all the stages and steps. It's to keep you out of court and to settle and get everything sorted without going into a trial, which nobody wants to do.
That's not nice for anyone.
No.
And I think one of my favorite quotes, Lyn, is that you don't walk out of court better friends than what you did, you know, when you entered at the end of the day.
Or better parents.
Yeah, and when you've got kids, that's really important.
Because
that's where your platform's been so good.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, the Our Children platform, you know, when they said, oh, let's talk to Laurie, I was like, oh my gosh, I was so starstruck, because, you know, what you've created is helping so many people navigate the trickiness of co-parenting. But it's not about the parents. You're helping all those children, you know, all those kids' lives are sorted and organized and kind of kept in a good, you know, co-parenting positive way because of what you've created. And that's why we've actually never interviewed anyone on our podcast in that area. So we're very excited to interview you.
Ooh, can't wait. which is
Can I add to that? Look,
sorry.
can I add to what Laura said? I don't think you're just helping this generation of parents and this generation of children. I firmly believe there's intergenerational harm that goes down the track if children have a bad experience as children of a broken family. They call it broken family, and that impedes their ability to to partnerships and their abilities to parent. So I think, Laurie, your legacy will go on for many years, and into many generations, and countless thousands of lives will be improved. So I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing.
Thank you, Lyn. I mean, that kind of just spoke directly to the core of what I suppose my life's passion and vision is, and that is, at the end of the day, our kids are our future generation, and we can teach them how to do conflict better. The ripples that creates, it's going to benefit so many people. But yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm getting goosebumps having cats. So in terms of your podcast, you said before, Lyn, that you focus mainly towards women. That's who you talk to?
Yes, we do. I mean, Laurie, you and I have been women in the law, but and there are almost, I think, more female lawyers now than there are men lawyers. But I still feel that the power in a lot of situations lies with the males more, and they have a lot of support groups for them. And we just thought we'd focus on the women. We've identified, I think, that particularly with domestic violence, there are a lot of resources available for people straight after, like to help get them out and so forth, but there's not much available for beyond that. And so that's why we've gone mostly for women. We do have some male listeners. We have recently tried to change our pronouns to their and they rather than him and her. And we, of course, we all know men who've had a terrible time in the same way. So, but at the moment, it's the women who are a lot more open, who will write in and ask us things, and who seem to be really benefiting. And it may be because of that stereotype that women talk to other women about problems, whereas men probably not so much. We'll see.
Well, look, and the beauty of our podcast is anyone can listen to it, because you just click it and you're listening. It is a bit weird because I call her mum most of the time or all the time. So when people write in, they say, "Can you ask your mum?" or "Can you say thank you to your mum?" So mum is, and all our members call her mum as well. So she's like a big mum to the world. But we've helped a lot of men as well. And yes, I always stick it in there, because I do know a fair few men that we've helped recently that do have a tricky time, but predominantly our members are women.
Yeah.
Laura, can I ask you, what is the one thing you hope that your members get out of all of this?
I just hope that listening or doing the course, they claim some sort of feel empowered, and they're educated, and they feel like they can face it. I want it to be taking away the unknown, so lifting the curtain and showing how it works, and so that it's less scary when you know what you're facing. But if it's unknown, like if you're going into surgery, you don't know what's happening, of course that's scary. But if you're a surgeon, you're like, whatever, I do this all day. And same with lawyers. You walk into a court or a mediation, you guys do this all the time, it's no big deal. But to the person who's never done a mediation and never been to court, they're crapping themselves. But if you've got some basic understanding of how it works and why they're doing what they're doing, or who says what and when, I'm hoping that people go in a little bit more confident, a little bit less scared, a little bit more empowered, and then that will achieve a better outcome of a mediation or of negotiations, because fear can make people heightened, scared, angry, upset, and when you've got that emotion going at the same time, you can't solve problems as easily. So that's what I hope. I hope it lifts the curtain and helps people understand what's happening.
Beautiful. Now, for people who are listening, you can find out more information below the recording. I'll put all the links to the podcast and to also the course, so you can jump on and take a look. And I really encourage you to do so. Lyn, Laura, is there anything else you want to leave with today?
No, I'm sorry about my dogs in the background.
Mum, you've always got something wonderful to say. Some wise words.
I think that I was just as guilty as any other lawyer of taking some stages in this divorce process for granted and not understanding quite the impact on my clients. And Laura has been absolutely instrumental in showing that to me, and her insightful questions, can sort of just draw it out of me. I feel that I've never properly understood the impact of a mediation on people. Because the lawyers go, oh, it's not going to court, it's a mediation, it'll be like relaxed, and but people are very nervous about it. So yeah, Laura's been really good at that and helping me to see better than I did, because I've been through divorce, and I'm not just pro women. I've got sons, but I think I'd forgotten, if I ever knew, how bad it is to be going through it. And the difference between what we do with people and an operation is that the operation, when you wake up, it's all over. It doesn't happen with court. So you're actually part of the process. You're giving instructions. So why shouldn't we be educated? Why shouldn't all of our clients be better educated so that we can get better outcomes for them? That's my thoughts.
Yeah, it is so true. And I'll put my hand up right now and say I probably never really thought about the impact either, for people, especially from a mediation perspective, because as professionals working in the area, Lyn, that it is a much more relaxed process than going to court. So it's it should be, and that's I think mentally has just really hit home from you saying that. So thank you to you both.
Thank you, Laurie.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for joining us on this episode. And as always, I will see you next time on Did You Know? Bye for now.